Hi, it's Dr. Kevin Strong, running as an apolitical, self-funded independent for the Maine governor's race 2022. People have asked me to sort of elucidate my opiate policy, which is really an area of strength for me. I'm a medication-assisted therapy doctor, so I do addiction medicine, and I have until my medical license was illegally suspended. I'll have it back in a few weeks. I was taking care of 250 patients. And wow, what an amazing job. My favorite job I've ever had. I mean, I love kids and pediatrics. I love nutrition policy, but to be able to meet someone at the depths of hell and to help them through guidance, coaching, and medication-assisted therapy start to regain hope and elucidate their long-term goals and short-term goals is really God's work. So thank you for that opportunity. I'm excited to return to that job in mid-January of 2022. So I want to start by saying that I personally have overdosed and required 5 minutes of CPR at a McDonald's rest stop at 9 a.m. in the morning. I was traveling with some other homeless people who I will remain nameless. They thought we had cocaine. I was tired, so they put me a small line, which I snorted, and I knew immediately I was in trouble because there was no high. Anyone who's done cocaine knows that you immediately feel a rush. 3 minutes later, on a gorgeous sunny day, I'm walking around the parking lot and I felt a little dizzy. The next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed. 5 minutes of CPR in the parking lot by one of the homeless guys who I thank dearly for saving my life, and 2 Narcan doses. And when I tell you this was like the skinniest pin, half-inch line of white powder, I mean it. And this is what's killing thousands, I think probably millions of patients or addicts across the nation. And I think in Maine, a state of only 1 million people, we had 450 overdoses from opiates last year. To contrast that with Portugal, which I believe is a country of about 10 million, who's decriminalized drugs, small amounts of drugs. I think they had 20 overdoses, so do the math. So I'll start by saying that instead of incarcerating people for possessing illicit drugs, well, we decriminalize, they won't be illicit, so that solves that. But instead of incarcerating, we'll do as Portugal does, provide intensive rehabilitation and mental health counseling and transitional housing and medication-assisted therapy to prevent relapses. It's pretty simple. You incarcerate someone, they make more drug connections, they lose hope, they want to use more. It's very easy to smuggle in Maine Care's favorite medication for opiate maintenance, which is Suboxone strips. You can hide them under a postage stamp. And then you can dissolve them in water and inject them. You can dissolve in your mouth and then share spit. And this whole idea that naloxone, that's the medication that they put in Suboxone, prevents overdose and highs is false. It's just a big pharma scam, a big pharma money grab. It's twice the price of Subutex, which is a more effective, better tolerated option. And again, it's half the price. So I don't know how many patients we have in Maine at this time that are on Suboxone through their Maine Care, but let's say it's 10,000. The price per strip, most patients get 2 strips a day, is $16. So 16 times 10,000, I'm doing it in my head. I think that's $160,000 a year in medication expense. That expense, if we cover Subutex, would drop to 80,000, actually less than 80,000. It's less than half the price. So probably about 75,000 per year. So there you go. $100,000 of savings right off the bat for a more effective, better tolerated medication. So As soon as I am in office, I will require main care to cover Subutex therapy for all their patients. The second thing is, we've already visited this, is decriminalization of small amounts of all drugs. Oregon's already done it. Portugal's been doing it for 20 years, and they have the lowest overdose rate in the world. They're the model on drug policy. If you want to hear more about this, there's an interview with the drug czar of Portugal. I believe it's on Democracy Now! Or one of those sort of progressive radio stations. I'm sure if you Google search it, you can find it. I'll actually look for it and post it to my Facebook page. So you decriminalize and you suppress the demand for illicit drugs. It's just basic economics, supply and demand. The second really important piece is that we will end this iatrogenic effect of really criminalizing doctors for trying to prescribe pain pills. I mean, there's something called the Prescription Monitoring Program, which is great software, which allows you to see what pills your patient's getting and from whom. So they can't doctor shop, so they can't have multiple doctors and get extra medication. So we have that in place. There's no reason that we shouldn't be able to prescribe pain pills for people who need them. We need to liberalize those prescribing rules and remove our own state's mistake, which created the spike in overdose deaths. Look at the spike in overdose deaths. It coincides with when they created a rule about how many pain pills you could prescribe. All right, you cut off supply, you increase demand for illicit fentanyl-laced pressed pills. They're easy to do. You can go right online, you get some powder, you get a pill press, you get a little bit of fentanyl, and if you don't dilute the fentanyl properly, the pill is deadly. Patients get these from the street, they look exactly like an OxyContin or exactly like a Vicodin or exactly like a Percocet. They crush it, they snort it, they die. Now, I've learned from my street folk that those pressed pills are harder than the regular pills. So if you're an addict and you're out there and you get a pill and it seems unreasonably hard to crush, throw it away. Throw it away, unless you want to die. And if you're in that much withdrawal and you're desperate, make sure you have a friend there with 2 doses of Narcan and a telephone to call 911. Okay? I mean, I like what Janet Mills and Gordon Smith, the Opiate Policy Director of Maine, has done. They've liberalized the access to Narcan, but that's not treating the root cause. That's just resuscitating people. We need to get at the root cause, which is our iatrogenic effort to increase demand for illicit drugs. Let's see, I think I want to stress that, medication-assisted therapy needs to be accompanied with mental health counseling if needed. Not all patients need it. Often they need marriage counseling or they need family counseling. But I think a requirement for all medication-assisted therapy patients is that they participate in NA, that they find a home group. NA has saved more lives than any program in the world, along with AA, obviously. They find a home group, they tell you the home group, they go to the home group weekly, and they get a sponsor in that home group, a sponsor that has a lot of experience. And in NA, you can't be a sponsor unless you've completed the 12 steps of NA. And then they go through the 12 steps and they report to you at your monthly meetings about the step work that they're doing. You combine medication-assisted therapy with Subutex, NA meetings, home meetings, sponsorship, 12 steps, and mental health counseling where needed, or marriage counseling where needed, family counseling where needed. And then I like to add in exercise, because we found studies show that patients that exercise get this endorphin rush and it suppresses their desire to use. My favorite exercise program for addicts, and there's a great model in Boston called Phoenix. I think it's called Phoenix CrossFit. You can probably read about it if you Google search, is CrossFit. The reason I like CrossFit is it's high intensity training. It combines cardiovascular work, which gives you that endorphin rush, with powerlifting, weightlifting, kettlebells, calisthenics. And I did it, changed my life. It also, it's functional fitness. You do box jumps, so step ups, lateral jumps, running, carrying. It prevents patients from getting injuries because they're functionally fit. So you see less injuries at work, thus less need for pain pills. So I'd like to give a shout out to one of my mentors in CrossFit, Greg Glassman, who's a great friend. He's now since retired. He sold the business to a fantastic gentleman who I've yet to meet, but I look forward to meeting in Boulder. I'd love to meet in person this winter. Eric Rosa. And he's been a brilliant leader for CrossFit. He's a CrossFit advocate, and I know he's an advocate for CrossFit for addicts. And then another shout out to my brother. What's up, brother? Let's go. Jay Vera. If you don't know Jay Vera, you can find him on Instagram at j.vera. He is a brilliant documentarian. He's head of videography and media for CrossFit, and he has the best documentary on diabetes I have ever seen. It's called Death and Diabetes in the City of Angels. It's 26 minutes. And if you're interested in preventing diabetes in your community, this is a mandatory viewing, and I'm gonna share it to my page so you have access to that. And finally, I'd like to take kind of a moment to pray for the families of the patients I've lost, despite my best efforts over the 3 years I've been doing this. I'm not going to remember everyone, and I apologize, but I'm going to start with one of my best friends, one of the kindest men I've ever met, a fantastic father. Larry Johnson, UNLV running Rebels, Larry Robbins. And I will say, word from the street was that he had a pressed Xanax pill that he thought was Xanax. He crushed it and snorted it. It was fentanyl. It killed him immediately. So it was unintentional. And I'd like to say hello to his son, Larry Robbins Jr., who he spoke of every visit we had, all his accomplishments as a basketball player and as a student and as a young lobsterman, his work ethic, his kindness. God bless you, Larry Jr. Feel free to reach out to me if you need support. Cheyenne Cesarini, a brand new mother who I lost to overdose. Jesse Piper's brother, who we lost to overdose, who I never met. Ryan Gamage, who we lost to overdose. Let me think. I don't know, I kind of lost it. But anyway, God bless you and your families, and let's end this scourge. We can do it.